Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be covering the Illinois primary results for 2026. Mainly the Democratic side because there's not really much to talk about on the Republican side. This is Illinois, very blue state. Most of these Republicans are going to go on to lose. There's just not really much to talk about in that aspect. So, here's the deal. When I started this channel, I said I would be honest. I will always be honest. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. This wasn't particularly a good night for the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, the left-wing flank. It wasn't. I don't know if I could say confidently that this is kind of the sign that the Dem Tea Party still is not ready. The voters they're just not ready. They're just not ready. Let's talk about the most important race, debatably, the one that was getting the most news coverage, essentially, and that was Illinois' 9th congressional district, with, of course, Kat Abu-Ghazaleh. Hopefully I pronounced her name right. Anyways, yeah, she lost. Yeah, there's really no way to say it. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. The left did not come together. It was I mean, just look at the results. There's so many people running in this seat. I mean, Daniel Biss is going to win with under 30% of the vote. So yeah, it wasn't exactly a very democratic race. I mean, you're not even getting a third of the vote, but you're going to be the candidate. So not really much you can do about that. That's called first to pass the post voting, pretty much. There's not much you can do about it. But what is there to say about this race specifically? It's gonna be close. When it's all said and done, she probably is only gonna lose by like 3 or so points. Basically, probably a similar margin to what it is right now. Probably be the final margin. And there's a lot of blame for this. First, you gotta talk about the big one. AIPAC and the money in politics. They threw millions and millions and millions of dollars of attack ads at this woman. They tried to demonize her. They called her a Republican. They did everything they could to try and make her look bad in this Democratic primary. So yeah, that didn't help. But I'm not going to sit here and say that's the reason she lost. It is a part of many reasons. All we needed was probably, with how close these results were, for one of these things to go right. Essentially, everything went wrong with this campaign, and it still was pretty close. That's the only good news I'm taking away from this. And that the establishment candidate did lose, because Daniel Biss was not the establishment's pick. That was the person who got third place here, Laura Fine. She was actually the candidate that AIPAC and the establishment wanted to push. But she is 6 points essentially behind Kat. So that's the good takeaway from this. It's kind of the result that I think we're going to get in Michigan, where the establishment don't get what they want, but yet the left doesn't get what they want either. We're probably going to end up getting Mallory McMorrow. And it seems like that's going to be more of a common trend, because it seems like the left and the establishment fight each other, letting the center-left liberal candidate kind of win. But another reason she lost was Bernie and AOC, the leaders of the left-wing flank in Congress, didn't endorse, and when they did endorse candidates, it was very late. And that would have made a difference with it being this close. Yeah, I mean, BIS voters would have changed their mind if someone like AOC and Bernie Sanders came out in support of Kat, but they didn't. So that was a very disappointing result to see. And then the last thing is, I don't think Kat ran a great campaign. I just Midwest voters, I'm from Pennsylvania. It's not exactly Midwest, it's Northeastern, but a lot of people will call it Midwest. Because electorally it votes more in line, and culturally, in a lot of parts, it is more Midwestern than Northeastern. So I know how a lot of these people think, these voters, and I think the left needs to start realizing why Republicans have completely won over the working class. Union people do not vote Democrat anymore, even though Democrats are still way more pro-union. The working class has abandoned the party that abandoned them, but they went to a party that hates them. So I don't get it. I get not voting for the party that abandoned you, but switching over to a party that hates you, never, that part never made sense to me. But it's all about messaging. The Republican Party's message is how you are personally affected. It's you, 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 you. You feel like the main character. Democratic policies, there just really is none. They never run at anything. But the left, it's all about, for example, the war in Iran. Let's look at that. Cat against it. Of course, we're all against it. It's stupid. It's tons of people are dying. It's ridiculous. That's the argument she's making. But I'm gonna be honest. That argument doesn't resonate with most voters. It doesn't. What most voters are mad about is not the killing, the death, the war. They're mad about their gas prices going up because of the war. If the left wants to win going forward, they kind of have to do the LBJ FDR strategy. They're going to have to just really focus in on pro worker economic policy. It's the only thing, cuz and anti-ice. Anti-ice right now is working just because like people are literally getting their families grabbed up, but they don't care about what's going over abroad. They don't. At least not enough to where it's going to affect their vote. If you tie it to Trump, yeah, they'll be like, "Oh, I hate this." Yeah, most Democrats don't approve of the war in Iran. But what are they going to point to? The average Democrat's going to be like, "Yeah, Trump got us into this war and now our gas prices are going up." So yeah, I think Kat needed to focus more on making talking more about the individual rather than the community and the people as a whole. I think that's something the left needs to do going forward. I think Mondani actually did a good job doing this in New York with freezing the rent, because that affects you, you who lives in New York City. So yeah, let's go over a few of these other ones. Bean ended up winning in District 8. Yeah, that one was rough because this actually is the establishment pick. She is one of the most conservative candidates to win here. She is a very establishment Dem. She was heavily funded by APAC, got tons of money for this campaign. So that one's a big blow. It's even worse than District 9 because at least the establishment candidate lost as well in that race. Because Biss is probably just going to be another Democrat in the House, where Fine would have been probably one of the worst in there, to be honest. In District 2, yeah, as you can see, Jesse Jackson Jr. was actually running. Isn't that interesting? But Peters was probably the best candidate. And yeah, that he didn't do very well at all. 12% of the vote. I mean, wow, that's rough. I don't even think there's anything he could have done to fix it. Like I said, I went over the three big things that cost Cat, and I think if one of those were fixed, she probably would have narrowly won. Where, yeah, there's really nothing that could have been done here. Um, Miller ended up winning pretty convincingly. I was actually not expecting it to be that much of a landslide. I knew Peters was a dark horse candidate, but Jesse Jackson Jr. coming in second was actually, not a surprise, but I expected this to be pretty competitive between him and Miller, but it wasn't even close. I mean, over 10 points Miller's going to win by. That is kind of shocking. But we did win one race out of the four that I mentioned. That happened, the big ones. And that was the Senate race. So the statewide Senate race, Juliana Stratton won by like 7 points. She's in favor of things like Medicare for all, raising the minimum wage. She wants to get money out of politics. So these are all good things, and this is a positive. So what I will say, my takeaway is I've taken some, time to really think about the results and how I feel. And I'd still say it's a little early to determine if we're in a Dem Tea party, but my initial thought after seeing this, seeing Texas, is no. But we're close. Normally, we wouldn't have won any of these. But we got Tallarico. We got Strat. Mondani won in New York. Mejia in New Jersey. You have still many other races. Like, people are actually starting to primary establishment Dems, incumbents. This is something that just never used to happen. You have Brad Lander running up in New York, who, has a very good shot at winning that district that he's running in. Again, support Brad Lander when, if you're in New York. New York's primary is still quite a ways away, but when it comes around, you got to vote for Lander. So I would say, after looking over these results, unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're there yet. But it's a start. And I'm not going to tell you to keep up hope that this is good news, but I will say, one day, the work that we put in, we may not see it. We may not live to see it. But we keep fighting to push the movement forward. Our battle might be more to keep the movement alive with candidates like these. Eventually, there will come a time, and as you can already see it, the Democratic base is getting more and more upset. The establishment's getting more and more nervous. It doesn't look like we're there yet. We're close. We might get there in 2 years, or maybe a couple more months I'll change my mind and be like, oh, we really are in a Dem Tea party. The progressives are taking over the party. But as of now, I still don't see it. I think we're kind of in like a Democratic Party civil war right now. And the establishment's always going to win that. They just have money and power, incumbency, and that's just a little too much to overcome. So my takeaway from this is, don't give up, because one day your efforts for the movement will be seen by some generation of people. The New Deal coalition didn't just come out of nowhere. There were people fighting for ages during the Gilded Age, even before that, right? The abolition movement, long before. A lot of those people never even got to see the fruits of their labor, right? The hard work, the blood, sweat, and tears they put into the movement pay off. We might not see it ourselves. There are many people who have been fighting this good battle in the Democratic Party since like the 90s, since we really lost to Bill Clinton. That's like 30 years ago now. And it's still a Bill Clinton party, and it's still going to remain a Bill Clinton party. But we do have fighters in there, and those are the people that will turn the party into an actual working class party once again. You don't support a cause to, be a bandwagon. You don't jump on something because it's easy. You support it because it's hard and it's the right thing to do. So I know a lot of you probably are disappointed. I'm disappointed as well. I can't sit here and say that this is some great success. The Dem Tea Party is here. The progressives have finally taken over the party. Now it's all about implementing the policy that we fought so long for. That's not what I can sit here and tell you. What I can sit here and tell you is it's a long, long process. This isn't going to be like the Republican Party, where MAGA takes over the party in 4 years. It's just not going to be the case. The Democratic Party is a lot different. It's a massive coalition of people, which also makes it more difficult. You have, suburbanites who are college educated. You have, women are like the backbone of the Democratic Party, and they tend to vote for the establishment candidates the most. So we need to win over them. Think about all the streamers and YouTubers. Most of their audiences are like 90% men. So there's work to be done. A lot of work, in fact. So we just keep going. If you're a leftist, you're used to defeat. This isn't exactly something that we're not accustomed to. Unfortunately, we're very, very used to it. It's kind of what we do. When do we ever win, right? I guess Stratton won here, so that's something. But we lost in all the House races essentially. So yeah, not great, but we'll continue on. You got to keep going because if you give up, it's over. One day, people will wake up and see our vision, and in terms of the Senate race, you see it. Like if we didn't fight at all, we wouldn't even have won one out of the four of these races. Normally we wouldn't, which is a sign that your efforts do pay off. We've seen it. Like I said, normally we lose everything, but you have Mondani, Stratton, Tallarico to prove otherwise, and maybe more. You know, I mean, look at back in 2018 when AOC won. Nobody saw that. Sure, that hasn't really led to anything, but this probably won't lead it to anything, at least for years to come. It's all about having those people to at least show that there are other people like you out there. And eventually, people will realize that this is the way forward. But until then, we just keep on trying because one day we will succeed. Maybe we bank all that on 2028. That might be the way to go. It was the way Trump changed the Republican Party. Maybe a top-down strategy is the way to go. Anyways, we're going to wrap it up there. I've been rambling quite a bit, but I had a lot to talk about. I know this was a rough night for the left. Um, but we're used to this. And we did win. We did win the Senate race. Um, and if we organized better, we could have won in Kat's thing. So we take our lessons away from this and we move forward to the next one. We make sure that the Democratic Party can't get in can't get a breath of relief. They have to fight every primary, spend all this money, and they can't do it on every single one. They just can't. So remember that. They're feeling pressured, which is a sign of something at least.